Welcome everyone, and happy National Canadian Film Day. So, yeah, my name's Trillian. I work at Discover Weyburn. And we have Bernadette here as well, and she's our big 106 host. And we both have some experience acting in film, mostly in Saskatchewan here. And, I just thought it would be really great to have a conversation with some other people involved in Canadian film, who have ties to Weyburn especially. So, could we just start with all of you introducing yourselves, maybe tell me where you live and what kind of work you're doing now?
Sure, Trina, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Trenna, and Trenna Keating, and I live in Toronto. Grew up in Weyburn, and I work as an actor in the film industry in Toronto, a little bit in Vancouver. Just worked down in the States, so I'm starting to get around in the film places. So that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Brendan Rogers. I work based out of Vancouver mostly. I work at Scanline Visual Effects, and at Scanline, I'm a performance capture animation supervisor, which mostly deals with just moving characters and facial performances and things like that. We have studios in Vancouver, Montreal, LA, Germany, South Korea, kind of all over the place. But I'm mainly based out of Vancouver, and that's kind of it for me. I've been here for 8 years in the one city and loving life.
I'm Bernadette Mullen, and I grew up here in Weyburn, and I work in the Saskatchewan film industry and doing independent film projects. And I work as a radio announcer here at Discover Weyburn 106.
Great. And yeah, I kind of already introduced myself, but kind of same. I mostly do independent stuff in Saskatchewan. It's been a little while because of COVID, so I'd love to get back into it. But yeah, definitely have done some acting and whatnot, and it's a lot of fun. So great. So yeah, today is National Canadian Film Day, and I just wanted to ask all of you, what does this day of celebrating Canadian film, what does it mean to you, and why is it so important?
Sure. Who wants to go first? Me? Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for kind of people who are in a specific area to see others do things that they wish to achieve, right? I feel like movies are kind of inspiration and dreams in a nutshell. And seeing somebody that is from where you're from, it kind of opens that door to you, right? You can see that as a kid or growing up, you can then picture yourself in those shoes. And I think that's super important. And I know it was to me. And it's not just film, that's for sports and anything else you want to do in life. But I think film in particular, you never see a ton of people from Saskatchewan kind of in the industry. So the more you kind of see of that, I think the more you can kind of be inspired to do that yourself when you're growing up. And that's kind of what it is for me.
Yeah, for me, I think like this industry has grown so much, even just in the time that I've been in it. Like when I was growing up, I remember my mom used to cut out clippings of Canadians who were actors or people from Saskatchewan who had gone on in the industry to sort of encourage me that, this is something that you can do in Canada, because my, 14-year-old brain thought that there was no way. I just had to move to Hollywood. And if I wanted to be an actor, I could never stay in Canada. And the older I've gotten, the more I've wanted to stay in Canada. And also just, seeing that you can make a living in this industry. And I just think all the shows that are coming out of Canada now are they're just getting better and better all the time. And I'm really proud of what we make in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like, well said, Trenna. I feel like there is, Canada, there's that often there's that perception sometimes that if it's at one time there was that perception, if it was from Canada, it wasn't that good because it wasn't American. But I feel like we really are breaking through that. Like when I was a kid, you were like, oh, a Canadian show. Oh, but now I really feel like we're really breaking through that. And we're proving that there's just strong Canadian crews, strong Canadian talent all across the board, really. So yeah, I think it's important. Canadians are making their mark, you know.
Sorry. Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. And I think it's so important to just see that in the media. I feel like, you know, as a kid or even now, you're just so exposed to so much American media and you don't see as much Canadian. So it's really special when you see all these Canadian shows and stuff like that, right? Like it's really exciting. So really cool. Okay, I was going to ask, like, I know with the two of you kind of working in bigger centers here, Vancouver and Toronto, I'm sure that, you know, there's a lot of Canadian shows filmed there, but I'm assuming that there's also some American shows that are brought there to be filmed and whatnot as well. And do you kind of have a preference, or do you feel much of a difference when you're working on a Canadian show versus an American show? Or is it kind of just nice that, you know, you're a Canadian working on an American show and you're kind of, you know, getting to be involved in those sort of projects?
Well, sometimes, I mean, I think my main answer would be no, not so much. Like I don't feel any different working one or the other. I think that the quality of both is really high now. And for me, it always depends on, you know, the writing and the show and just how much I prefer one over the other. With American shows, I mean, sometimes the exposure still might be greater. Like if you're on a Netflix show or a Disney show or something, like you just, you know, career wise, you might get seen a little bit more. But even with our platforms now, you know, you can have a CBC or a Canadian show like Working Moms or something on Netflix. So even that is starting to be something that doesn't really matter anymore, I think.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off of that, I think they're getting more and more blended. I mean, we just did Free Guy, and for that movie, you know, it's kind of in a fake city, but that fake city is just different angles of Vancouver. I mean, it's starring Ryan Reynolds, who's from Canada. It's produced by Canadian guys. It's, you know, mostly it feels like a Canadian film. A lot of the ones we work on. Even we did one for Netflix recently with the kind of same crew. And it's just most of the people working on it are Canadian, right? The main studios we have for the visual effects working on it were in Vancouver and Montreal. So even if it is kind of an American production, the kind of feel, the vibe where it's shot and the people in it are still really, really Canadian. So as we go on, you know, even the bigger productions like the ones that are on Netflix and whatnot that you were talking about, I feel like they are getting more and more kind of intermingled and things like that. Yeah. Just as we're getting more globalized.
Yeah. I also just worked in the US, and I think it was my first time working down there, and I thought I expected it to like be run differently or something. It wasn't. It felt just the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Our crews really know how to run a smooth set up here in Canada.
Yeah, that's really cool and interesting to hear. And yeah, it's kind of neat that it's more blended now, or, you know, Canadians going down to the States, or projects from the States being filmed up here. And yeah, that's really cool for sure that it's not just like a separate thing anymore, for sure. Okay, and I guess, was there anything else that any of you wanted to say about this day, or just about Canadian film itself, or just anything else?
Canadian sets must be nicer because we always say sorry, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I just think that we should all be very proud of this day, because I think that there's so many of us that have worked so hard to make this industry what it is today, and it's just getting better and better all the time, and I think that that's an amazing thing to celebrate.
The growth and development in Canada, especially in the film industry, is is always something worth celebrating.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, really great responses. Oh, it's Marna. Hi, Marna. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for your time and for answering all my questions.